I'm Dr. Vinny, and I'm excited to talk to you about some practical tools. These are tools that are faith-centered insights that are going to help you thrive during this holiday season rather than just survive, right? We all know how to survive. We've been doing that our whole lives, but you probably want more than that for the holiday season. I hope you do. And if you do, then you're in the right place. I'm going to help really tonight focus on holiday challenges that are really related to other people. And so when you have to deal with difficult people this holiday, I want to give you some tools for that. So, all right, here we go. So the first thing I want to do is talk about the big promise. The big promise that I have for you tonight is that you're going to discover how faith-centered mental fitness practices can help you overcome holiday stress that's related to other people. It's also going to help you build lasting resilience, not just with the difficult people in your lives, but with difficult circumstances, because we all face difficult circumstances in life. And a lot of times during the holidays, that can be even harder on us because we're supposed to be joyful during the holiday season, right? By the end of tonight's webinar, you're going to have some practical tools to quiet your negative thoughts. And I call the negative thoughts saboteurs. I'll tell you why in a minute. And I'm also going to show you how to deal with the negative thoughts or saboteurs of other people as well. Now, what are saboteurs? There's actually 10 of these characters, and we know this from research that was done by Shirzad Chamine, who is a Stanford professor. He and some of his colleagues did some research and found these 10 saboteurs. They really are the root of our negative thoughts and our negative feelings. You probably have 2 or 3 of these yourself. But as I'm talking about it, you're going to recognize these in yourself. But I also want you to think of people that you know that you might have to interact with during the holiday season who might also fit the mold of what I'm talking about tonight, because I'm going to show you what to do about that in the middle of our time tonight. So if any one of these is resonating with you, let me know by hitting some kind of reaction there or letting me know in the comment section. So the first one, and I'm calling these holiday saboteurs for now, though we know they come out at all times of the year. The first holiday saboteur is the pleaser. This is that person in your life who goes out of their way to please you and other people. They're probably going to sacrifice their personal joy to make you happy. But guess what? In the end, they're going to be resentful that you're not giving as much into the relationship as they are. So that's the first one. The second one is what we call the avoider. The avoider is that person who is going to dodge some of your holiday gatherings. You're going to be looking for them. Where are they? You're also going to dodge difficult conversations, no matter how hard you try to have a substantive conversation or deal with an issue with this person. They're always going to deflect it and get out of that difficult conversation. And then there's the controller. It's that person in your life who is going to insist on perfection in holiday plans, perfection for themselves, perfection in others, going to create a lot of stress around the different things that are happening during the holidays. The next is the restless. And this is that person who's constantly seeking the next thing. Like they can't wait for that next holiday party. Like this one isn't good enough. They can't be in the present moment here. They have to think, what is that next one? They're always looking for that next thing to be excited about. And because of that, they're going to miss out on the present joy of being in that moment with you. That's the restless saboteur. Then there's the victim saboteur. The victim saboteur is that person in your life who is feeling overwhelmed and they're feeling helpless amid all the holiday demands. And they are going to try to get you, manipulate you to pay attention to them because they're having a difficult time because they're seeing everything through the lens of how other people are doing them wrong or how circumstances are doing them wrong. Then there's the hyperachiever. This is that part of you or others that pushes for perfect holidays. which, like we have to have the nicest tree, we have to have the nicest lights, we have to have the best holiday party, always trying to climb that ladder. And a lot of times, of course, that leads to a lot of stress. And then there's the hyper rational part of us and others. And that is the part of us that will overanalyze every holiday decision and will actually miss out on the emotional experience and the spiritual experience of uh, celebrating the birth of Christ, celebrating the new year. We're going to miss out on the emotional experience of being with other believers or being with our family, some of whom may not be believers, an opportunity for us to share the gospel. Then there is the judge. The judge is that part of us or others that is critiquing. So if it's someone else who's judge, you might see, they're going to be critiquing themselves. They're going to be critiquing you and others probably. They might even critique God, right? Which is really going to cloud their joy. And the thing about the ones I've shared with you so far, I don't know if you have the ones I've shared with you so far, but I know that you have the judge. I've never met anybody in my life who doesn't have this judge saboteur. And then we got a few more here is the hyper vigilant part. This is that part of others that is overly focused on potential holiday disasters. They're always looking over their shoulder at what is that next bad thing that could happen. And then the last one is my favorite. That is the stickler. That is the part of us that rigidly sticks to traditions. And we're always measuring whether or not this one measures up to the last one or measures up to the one 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And this causes a lot of stress over anything that might change or anything that might happen that might be spontaneous. We might not be ready for it because we're stuck in the old ways of doing things. So these are just some of the ways that these 10 saboteurs might manifest in you or in others during the holidays. Give me a comment in the chat if you see one of these in yourself. If you want to say what it is that you see, you can put that in the chat too. I won't call your name or anything like that, right? But and do you see these in other people? And who are the people that you see some of these manifesting, and especially people that you might have to interact with this holiday? Just stick that in the chat so that I can see that you're listening and tracking with me. A lot of people want to ask me the question right about this time, and they want to ask me, why do we even have these saboteurs anyway? And to answer that, I have to talk about saboteurs as a survival mechanism. You see, our saboteurs are trying to help us survive, but often end up really sabotaging our joy and our connection with others during the holidays. So why do we say sabotage? Well, because all of those characters I shared with you a moment ago, they're all fear-based. You will notice that they're every action that a saboteur will cause you to do, or any feeling that it'll cause you to feel emotionally, or any behavior that it will have you do, will all be based out of fear. It'll start with that root of fear, and in the end will cause more stress. Even though in the short term it may seem to create some peace short term, in the long term it's always going to cause more stress. And that's just how the saboteurs work. And the reason for that is they actually live in a region of your brain that's built for survival. You have a part of your brain that's built just for survival. It's for life and death scenarios. But 95 to 99% of life is not life and death. Most of life is just life. We're not in danger of dying or losing our limbs or something like that, right? Now, we have all had experiences that have been bad in life, sure, but a majority of our experiences in life are not survival, life, and death for most of us, right? So if you want to pinpoint which of these saboteurs are most likely to mess with you during the holiday season, drop your email in the chat. We'll send you this report called the Saboteur Assessment. It's an assessment you can take. It takes probably less than 5 minutes to take. We'll help you pinpoint what your particular saboteurs are, because you're going to want to watch out for your saboteurs before you go watching out for anyone else's. You want to be watching out for yours. Or maybe you want to learn more about these saboteurs because you're going to be dealing with somebody this holiday season who you know has one of these saboteurs. And so if you place your email in the chat, what I'm going to do is um, I'm going to send you what we call the saboteur report, which will talk about all the saboteurs, and I'll give you enough information that it will really help you with the people in your life who really tick you off, right? So we'll get that to you. So just drop your email into the chat for that, or if you're on Facebook or watching this on YouTube, you can direct message me or just place it there in the comments. All right, this is a free assessment that we give you. And what I do for people who attend a webinar like this, I also will do a Zoom meeting with you or a phone call, and I'll help you understand the impact of your number one saboteur. I'll also help you dream about what life would be like if you were able to quiet that saboteur, so it will be sabotaging you less and less, particularly as it relates to other people. So this is a huge benefit. That usually has that usually costs money for that kind of thing, but I do it for anyone who comes to this webinar, listens to this webinar for free, complimentary for you being here. Thank you. I see somebody here is joining us on Facebook. You said you can't comment here on Facebook in the chat. Well, you did. I can see that you did comment there. So thank you for joining us over there. Appreciate it. Now, I want to talk to you about a mental fitness tool. They're what we call 10-second PQ reps. We call them PQ reps because they stand for positive intelligence. So positive intelligence is shortened to PQ, like emotional intelligence is EQ. This is PQ, positive intelligence. And these 10-second PQ reps, they're called reps because they are like a workout for your brain, just like you would do reps if you went to the gym. These are reps for your brain. They're going to help quiet your survival brain. So you're going to stop. You're going to take a deep breath. You're going to focus on just one sensation at a time, whether that's something that you're seeing, something that you're hearing, something that you're touching, something that you're smelling, or something that you're tasting. And it might be just something as simple as feeling your feet on the ground or your body in the seat that you're in right now. And you're going to ask God to help you find peace and calm after doing one of these 10-second PQ reps. So I'm going to show you how this works. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes as we transition into doing some of these PQ reps. I want you to shift your focus away from the busy thoughts that you've had today. And I want you to bring your attention to your body. Feel the weight of your body on your seat. Notice the weight of your feet resting on the floor. Take a few deep breaths and notice the rising and the falling of your chest and your stomach with each breath. Now, allow yourself to relax back into the natural rhythm of your breathing. Notice the temperature of air as it enters into your nostrils and the temperature of air as it exits your nostrils. Be aware of the sensations in your nostrils and how they might change with the inhale and the exhale. As thoughts may arise, just gently let them go and refocus back on these physical sensations in your body. Now, bring your attention to your fingertips. Slowly rub two of your fingertips together with such mindfulness that you can really feel the edges or the ridges on your finger pads. Feel the ridges on both of those finger pads. Those ridges will remind you that you were made by God, that you were made uniquely. No one else has those finger pads the way you do. Notice God's work is wonderful. Now place all the finger pads of one hand onto the finger pads and the palm of the other hand. And as you gently rub them together, notice all the sensations of touch that go with that. Be fascinated about all those feelings. Now shift your attention to the sounds around you. First, notice the sounds that are the farthest away from you. Now, gradually bring your attention to the sounds that are the closest to you, maybe even the sound of your own breathing. Now, return your focus to the rising and falling of your chest and your stomach as you breathe. Great. Thank you for practicing those with me. I know I needed those because I had a busy time leading right up to this meeting. What do you notice after a few minutes of doing those? Jot me a comment into the comments section or the chat. What do you notice after doing a few minutes of those? One person said they feel calm. Great. Calmness. Anybody else? Do you notice after a few moments of doing that? If you'd like a copy of those PQ reps that I just taught you, drop your email into the chat. I'll make sure that you get a copy of those so that you can do them over and over because they're going to be really helpful to the stuff that we're going to talk about coming up here. So just drop your email there in the chat. I'll make sure that you get a copy. I'll send you a PDF of this. And at the bottom of the PDF, there's going to be a place where you can go on the internet and you can actually listen to a couple of these. One is like maybe 2 to 3 minutes. Another one's more like 10 to 12 minutes. So a shorter one and a longer one. And then you can just listen to them and learn them that way. All right. So let's see here. What else did I want to make sure I said in the wrong spot? Give me a second here. Over here. All right. Good. So what are some examples of PQ reps that you could do for holiday stress? Like when would you actually use these during the holidays? Well, how about right before you go to a holiday gathering? Christmas party at work, Christmas party with your family, something like that. Maybe in the middle of an argument that you might be having with somebody at one of those parties, you could do some of these PQ reps. What if someone ignores you or someone says something dismissive about you or to you? You could do some PQ reps. You might receive some criticism in the next month, right? You could do some PQ reps. Maybe you will feel judged by another person. You could do some PQ reps. You might witness someone else having an outburst, and you might witness maybe someone else being yelled at or harmed in some way, and you could do PQ reps there too. What are some other times during the holidays that you could think where it might be helpful to do some of these PQ reps? Drop me a note in the comments or in the chat there. What are some scenarios that you can think of where these might be helpful for you or for others? All right, let's talk about what are some ways that you could use these things that I just shared with you. One of them is by charging up early and often. Charging up early and often. So I suggest you start your day with PQ reps to charge your battery. You have this muscle in your brain called the self-command muscle. And when you do these 10-second exercises, it's like that part of your brain, it has a battery, right? And it can grow in charge as you do PQ reps. And then during the day, you might lose a little bit of that charge as you go through the day. So start your day off with some PQ reps, more than just 10 seconds, maybe as many as 5 minutes or 12 minutes if you can, to really charge up your battery. And charge it up throughout the day, even if you don't feel like you need it, because again, you want to have the charge when it's going to make a difference in the middle of your day. So you want to do these throughout the day. And you also want to charge up when you feel any negativity, whether that's your negativity or someone else's negativity. And what you can do is, if you have negativity coming to you from another person, what I suggest is using the other person to do PQ reps. So I'll explain how this works. Let's talk about the first one. The start of the day, when you get out of your bed, your feet are going to hit the floor. You can do 10 seconds of PQ reps just feeling your feet on the floor. Sometimes I do it even before I get out of bed. I feel those nice sheets that my wife bought on Amazon. I feel them on my body for 10 seconds. My feet hit the floor. I feel that for 10 seconds. I start walking to the bathroom. I feel my steps. Pay attention to my steps. I go into the bathroom. I put the water on my face, and I really feel that on my face. If I brush my teeth, I really feel those bristles touching my gums. And before I want to read the Bible or I want to pray, I can do some PQ reps to help me center and prepare, which is what I do in the morning, right when I'm eating my breakfast. So do you have some other examples of your morning routine where you could really help start the day with PQ reps? Just 10 seconds is all it takes for each of those. If I did 10 seconds for each of those, I'd have a minute or two of PQ reps in without hardly even thinking about it, right? If there's any other parts of your morning routine where you can think about how to use it, drop me a note in the comments or in the chat. Second, charge up throughout the day, and you can make this easier for yourself every time you go to drink from your water. I know a lot of us are drinking a lot of water because we know it's healthy for us. Every time you take a drink of water, feel that water going down, do some PQ reps with it. Feel that coldness on your tongue, inside your mouth. When you go to the bathroom, right? You go to the bathroom 3 or 4 times a day, maybe, hopefully, if you're drinking a lot of water, maybe more. You go into the bathroom, every time you go to the bathroom, do some PQ reps. Look out the window. Look at something out the window. Really pay attention to it. Maybe every time you see someone during the day, you shake someone's hand or you meet somebody at work or something like that. Every time you see someone, do at least 10 seconds of PQ reps right there when you see them. So this way you can charge up throughout the day. I love doing PQ reps when I'm driving in the car. I live in Massachusetts. We've got some of the craziest drivers. I just heard about a survey this week. We're like in the very bottom of people in our country and how we drive. So I'm doing PQ reps whenever I'm driving to help me not be stressed. Right. So where could you find time during the day with stuff that you're already doing to do PQ reps so you can be charged up throughout the day, even if you feel like you don't need it? Because let's face it, you don't know when that time is when you're going to need it. So you want to have this self-command muscle charged up, because if you don't, you're going to be less in self-command of your thoughts and feelings. The more PQ reps you've done, the more chance you have to be able to allow Jesus to help you be more in command of your thoughts and feelings than them of you. And then if you feel any negativity during the day, just stop and do some of these reps that I showed you. Maybe you're feeling pressure in a group setting over the holidays, stop and do some PQ reps. Maybe there's a tense discussion about politics at the Christmas table or New Year's party, stop and do some PQ reps. If somebody in your family blames you for something, stop and do some PQ reps. Now, one of the tricks I gave you earlier was that you can actually do PQ reps on the other person. So here's how that works. If I'm talking to somebody, I look them in the eyes. I look at the color of their eyes. I look at anything that's different about their eyes than other people's. I'm really tuning into them, even if they're upset at me. I'm looking at their hair. What color is it? What's the texture? What's the shape of it? I'm looking at the color of their clothes. I'm listening for the tone of their voice, the inflections, the timbre of it. I'm If it's someone that I love or someone in my family, I might hold their hand. Okay. It is almost impossible to be angry at someone whose hand you're holding. So if it's someone that you're close to, you could do PQ reps by placing your hand on a part of their body, right? If that's an appropriate moment for that. All right. Something amazing will happen when you do these things. You are going to tune into them. I thought when I first did these exercises, I thought they were silly. I'll just be honest. I thought I was wasting my time. And the first time someone told me to do these specific ones on other people, I thought this is going to be tremendously distracting. But what I found was that instead of being distracting, what happened to me as I tuned more into the person instead of less into the person by doing PQ reps on the person. So those are some strategies that will be able to help you. And so I'm going to have you practice so that you'll be ready for whatever comes during the holidays. So I call this handling difficult people with care. Handling difficult people with care. So let us take a moment to really center ourselves. Let's take a couple of deep breaths first. Notice the rising and falling of your chest and your stomach with each breath. All right, now I want you to think of someone that you would like to feel more empathy toward, especially during the holidays. Maybe there's someone with whom you get upset no matter what the holiday is, and you'd like to have more empathy toward them. You'd like to know how to handle them better. Close your eyes if it helps you focus. I want you to imagine this person as a child. I want you to notice the hair of that child. Notice the eyes of that child. Notice the way that child holds his or her body. Notice that that child is made in the image of God. Notice that God loves that child. God has that child's picture on his refrigerator. Now, I want you to see that child alone. I want you to see that child carrying the weight of their biggest burdens. What might those burdens be? Consider that child's biggest fears, their self-doubts. As that child grew up into an adult that you have to interact with now, consider that adult's biggest fears, their self-doubts, the heartbreaks that they've endured. Think of their unfulfilled longings. Be curious about that person's private suffering, things that most people will never know. Now, I want you to imagine Christ's compassion welling up inside of you. He was a compassionate shepherd. He felt compassion for most of the people that he encountered who were needy and helpless and wanted his help. Let that compassion of Christ, let it flow through you toward this other person. Picture yourself saying or doing something that might comfort them. Or perhaps you might even need to set a boundary. But notice, after empathizing with the person in your own mind, notice how you're not quite as worked up, and it's easier to set a boundary if you need to. Notice yourself doing that without being all wound up. Congratulations, you just opened a neural pathway. The more that you practice this exercise of seeing yourself handling this the way you want to handle it, seeing that person with the lens of empathy, seeing yourself helping them through the compassion of Christ, bringing some kind of comfort to them, or even if you have to set a boundary, doing that in a non-judgmental way, in a way that's even kind. The more natural it will become, the more that you do it. So I encourage you to see this thing over and over, kind of like a movie. Watch it over and over, and you're more likely to actually do what you just thought of doing. You're more likely to do that if you keep running this video over and over and over in your mind. You're probably wondering, how do I know that that's true? Well, we know it's true because we took a bunch of basketball players and we had them shoot free throws, and we wrote down their percentages of how well they did on that task. And then we had broke them up into three groups. We had one group practice for a month shooting those same shots over and over for a month. And guess what? Those people got better, 24% better. We had another group of people for a month. We set them over there and we told them just to think about making free throws. Don't move your body, don't nothing, just think about making free throws. And every time we got together for a month, that's all they did was think about making free throws. They got 23% better, almost the same as those who physically practice. And then the people, the other third, we had them goof off during practice. They did nothing. They just chatted and had a good time. They didn't get better at all. So you see, where we put our minds and when we think about something, it actually makes it possible that we might actually do that thing that we've been thinking about better than we ever have before, just by thinking about it, which is amazing that we have these minds that God's given us that can do this. And it's going to be even more powerful when you insert Christ in there and ask him for his compassion for others. Now, imagine what it would feel like to approach every interaction with this kind of empathy. In our Unlocking Mental Fitness program, we strengthen these mental muscles, and we do it as a group. We do it together. We learn empathy for ourselves and we learn empathy for other people. But before I go into that, I want to recap what we did tonight. We talked about starting your day with PQ reps, doing these 10-second exercises so you can charge up your brain and charge it up throughout the day by doing these PQ reps, as many 10-second of them as you can. If you can get a minute of some of these in during the day, that's even better. And use negative interactions to remind you to do them. You know, there's a lot of negativity that comes our way during the day, whether it's in our mind or from other people or circumstances, lots of opportunities there. And then handle difficult people with care using Christ's empathy. These are the types of things that we show you how to do and how to create new neural pathways so that you can rewire your brain. Instead of just trying to survive, you can actually start to thrive. And I'm going to show you how we do that in just a minute. But before we do that, I bet there's some questions. So I want to stop and I'd love to take any questions that you might have. So feel free to type them into the chat or into the comments section if you're watching on Facebook, or I can unmute you if you raise your hand and you can ask that question. If you come on and share, your video won't be shown in our recordings, but your voice would be. If you would rather, you can also type into the chat your question or comment. What questions or comments do you have? If you'd like to say it out loud, you probably have to wave your hand or hit the reaction button. That is the raising the hand button if your video is not on. What questions or comments do you have? Well, I know some people always ask me whether or not these things that I share actually work. And so what I want to do is I want to show you what happened to me after doing 6 weeks of this. So I took this assessment before I learned any of those extras I showed you. And here's what the assessment said. The score that I got indicated that outside of neutral times, so we threw out neutral times, we just said, when are things going well, when are things going poorly? My brain was serving me 55% of the time. My brain was only serving me 55% of the time with things like empathy and gratitude and curiosity and joyful creativity and calm. But my mind was sabotaging me 45% of the time. I was feeling stress and anxiety and frustration and anger and disappointment and shame and guilt. I don't know if you would like those kind of results, but I didn't like those results. And what it did is it lit a fire under me because I had no idea that I was struggling like that. It lit a fire under me, and I did a 6-week group called Positive Intelligence. And when I was done, I had a clearer mind. I felt more in my body than I have ever felt in my body. I wasn't stuck in my head as much as I had been before. I was able to make decisions with more confidence than I had ever done before. I felt closer to God than I had before. I felt peaceful. And I was working on a project for 2 years. I spent over $10,000 on this project, and I had no end in sight. I didn't know how I was going to complete the project. And after 6 weeks of doing those PQ reps I showed you earlier in the meeting, God showed me exactly what I could do to move forward that project. I could hear his voice now because the fog had lifted from my brain. I completed that task, and I've actually completed it 9 times within this last about 14, 16 months. So something really shifted in my brain during that time. And this is actually, you can see it in this graph, what happened. My brain started serving me 71% of the time and only sabotaging me 29% of the time. This was the assessment score after the 6 weeks. So we know that this works because we assess it at the beginning and at the end. And we know from MRI research that it takes about 6 to 8 weeks of doing the kinds of things I showed you to build new neural pathways. You can actually see in the brain new gray matter being built there because of these kinds of exercises. It is fascinating. My friend Marlena went through this program with me the first time I went through it, and Marlena got a 100% boost in her mental fitness. She said, I find myself happy most of the time now. She went from a failing grade of 40% being in her thriving brain to eventually being 80% in her thriving brain. She went from a failing grade to a B- in just 6 weeks. And after the workshop, after a workshop that I did, just like the one that I did tonight, someone came up to me afterwards, and she could not get the words out of her mouth because she was struggling so much. She had tried so many different things. And she didn't know if this kind of group would be helpful for her. I honestly didn't know if it was going to be helpful for her because she was in a bad way. And she did the 7-week program with me and stayed on for some additional coaching with me afterwards. But here's what she told me one day in an email. She said, at my yearly physical on Friday, I passed the mental health screening for the first time in the last 6 years. Some of my answers were not at all when they used to be almost all the time. You know those questions like, how often do you find yourself unable to control your negative thoughts? Before, she had to say she could not control her negative thoughts at all, but now she could say she is able to control them. And she passed the mental health screening. Another person said that there's so much to praise and celebrate. I'm rejoicing in the pain that draws me close to God. The continued healing of my PTSD, standing up for myself with family members that bully me, the times of wanting, awaiting that bore so much fruit, praising because it is a powerful way to glorify God, seeing me as God created me, priceless. Another person sent me a text the other day, and they said, thank you for helping me get to know the new me. She said, I'm enjoying getting to know the new me after what she learned in this program. So this program is a program that is the same program that I went through, and I have added some things to it. And it's called Unlocking Mental Fitness. And I'm going to stick around after the meeting tonight and share a little bit more with you about what this is all about. But right now, I'm going to say a prayer because I know some people that are here in the meeting have already gone through the Unlocking Mental Fitness thing. So you don't want to hear me talking about that because you know all about it already. So I'm going to read this serenity prayer. And then for those who want to know more about the Unlocking Mental Fitness thing, I'll continue on after that. So look at this prayer with me. This is one of the most beautiful prayers. I love to say this at the end of our meetings. This is called the Serenity Prayer, the full version. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking as Jesus did this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Thank you for joining me tonight. If you'd like to hear more about the Unlocking Mental Fitness program, just hold tight here. And if you've already heard about it or already completed the program with me, thank you for being here tonight. I look forward to seeing you again for our next webinar, which will probably happen in January sometime. All right. So the Unlocking Mental Fitness program, let's go ahead and talk about that. The Unlocking Mental Fitness program gives you 1 year app access. So we have a specific app that is our own that we give to you. The value of that app is $995, but we're going to give that to you for really for a year because you're going to need this app. And because it's going to show you how to do those PQ reps, when to do the PQ reps, and it's going to show you also learning about your saboteurs and all that stuff, which I'm going to tell you right now. So it's going to guide you. This app is going to guide you with exercises, reflections, and activities to help you build your mental fitness. And it only takes about 10 or 15 minutes a day. It doesn't take really all that much time, probably 1% to 2% of your waking hours. I want you to think about this as a daily companion for mental fitness. It's always available to help you to stay on track. We give you 2 or 3 challenges during the day that are only 2 minutes a piece. So it doesn't take a long time. The second thing is that we give you daily coaching in the app. So right now I'm taking a group through, and every day I ask people to go in there and write a couple sentences. Doesn't have to be profound. Just tell me how you're doing with those challenges every day so that I can give you feedback, so I can encourage you, so that people in the group can also pray for you. So that daily coaching in the app, because I'm in there every day checking on people and writing responses to them. If people paid me for that, I added up all the time I spent in there during a 7-week group. It would cost, over a couple $1,000s. And then the weekly coaching sessions that we do, we meet as a group once a week on Monday nights, usually at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. And those weekly coaching sessions, I'm there to help you go deeper into the concepts, we share insights as a group, and we hold each other accountable to whatever it is, the goal that we have set that we want to reach. You'll have the opportunity to connect with other people. They're on the same journey that you're on, and you'll get personalized feedback in a supportive environment. So if people paid for that, that would be like $1,200 value. Now, we also going to give you the saboteur assessment, which is going to show you specifically your saboteurs. We also give you a PQ assessment, and that tells you how much of your survival brain you're using when you shouldn't be, and how much of your thriving brain you're using. It's that thing that I showed you a few minutes ago, how much it changed for me. That's another assessment we give you. So those are about $60 value. And then we're also going to give you a PDF of a best-selling book that goes with this called Positive Intelligence. We'll also give you the audiobook resource if you want to listen to it instead of reading it. And that's about a $30 value there. And then there's the small group. I have about 10 people that usually go through this with me at any given time. And then we also have a larger PQ community. So not only the 10 people in my group, you also have access to hundreds of people who are also doing the program at the same time that we are. You can meet people from all over the world in the app there, and they'll be talking about how they're learning the material so that you can go deeper if you'd like that way. And then, if we added all that up, that'd probably be close to $5,000, right? If you went to get your brakes done, you got some work done on your brakes, you got some work done on your transmission, it could cost, close to $5,000. This is actually a brake job for your brain to stop the thoughts and feelings that are causing you stress. And we're going to help you learn how to use the thriving part of your brain, because it actually has 5 gears, just like a transmission. I guess transmissions have more gears now than they used to. But back to the day we had 5 gears, and your brain has 5 gears. We're going to show you what those are and show you how to use them. So obviously, we're not going to charge you $47.85. But when you add all these together, that's about what it costs me to invest for you in this group. Now, we always make this group accessible to as many people as possible. So if you would like to talk, if you need this brake job for your brain that I'm talking about here, and you need that transmission job to help you get where you think the Lord wants you to go in the new year, 2025, you want to get your brain rewired, then here's the logistics of that. It's a 7-week group. It starts in January. I'll put in here, this one I think is starting on the 3rd. So I'll put that in here, January 3rd. That's a Friday. That's when the first video will show up in your app. And then the first meeting would be after January 3rd, whatever that Monday is. I think it's the 6th, something like that. So we meet Mondays at 6:30 p.m. We meet for 1 hour. And then if you miss a meeting, we'll record it for you and we'll send it to you afterwards. That way you won't miss it. So you can reach out to me at vinny@checkyourcompass.org, or you can reach out to me. My phone number is there, 508-293-1611. And then if you want to schedule with me to chat about this, you can go to checkyourcompass.org/schedule.